Welcome in, everybody, to Player Profiler today for Wednesday, May the 1st. Wow, I can't believe we're saying May the 1st already. The draft is past us. Now we're headed into the real grunt of the offseason where training camp, everybody we know where their landing spots are. Let's get it on. Welcome in. Let's start with our top story. Well, there you have it. The return of Ezekiel Elliott to the Cowboys certainly add a little bit of spice after the draft. Well, we weren't sure what the Cowboys were going to do with their running back situation, and a lot of us were really hoping they would go out and get one in the draft. Like a young guy like Jonathan Brooks or maybe Trey Benson. That did not come to fruition, and the Cowboys went back to an old friend, and they brought back Zeke this week, a reunion like no other. Jerry Jones and him are back in together. Remember the 2016 season when Zeke stormed the scene at the number 4 overall pick in that draft? He stormed the league and led the league with 322 carries his rookie season, going for 1,600 yards and 108 yards per game, which was incredible. He became an NFL superstar like we know. Zeke proved to be an asset last year when he filled in for Ramondre Stevenson when he went down to injury. He led the Pats as best as he could. He actually had a lot of receptions last year, Zeke, and he went for 51 receptions. He had 642 rushing yards and a total of 955 yards from scrimmage, and he didn't become a full-time player till later in the season. So decent stats if you think about it. Now he is back, and the stars are aligning there for him in Dallas, where he was a 3-time Pro Bowler, 2-time rushing champion, 1-time All-Pro. He might have a little bit left in the tank, and I think the Cowboys need somebody in the power rushing game that they missed last year, especially in the red zone. No, he is not the Zeke from the past. His yards per carry has significantly went down the last couple of years. He joins a group of running backs that consists of Rico Dowdle, Royce Freeman, Deuce Vaughn, Malik Davis, and you can't rule out Snoop Connor either out of the fold there. So quite a crowded backfield, but nobody, other than Zeke is really a big name. Dowdle was, the second leading rusher for the Cowboys last season with 361 yards. Royce Freeman, he played with the Rams, but he hasn't even, been a significant runner in his career. So the Cowboys are left with having Zeke and following that information this week. It's hard to imagine him not actually being the Cowboys RB1. And as crazy as that sounds, that is kind of where we're at with the Cowboys. He showed some signs of life last year, and he's going to be a big part of the red zone attack, whether we like it or not. They've missed that physical runner. They struggled in short yardage situations. He's going to be the guy that is going to get the rock in the red zone. And I think a lot of people are skeptical of Zeke, and he's going to return some value next year. He's going to be a top 24 running back, bearing they don't bring in another guy in free agency. But there's not much left out there after the frenzy that we saw. So Zeke back to the Cowboys, and unfortunate for those people, like I mentioned earlier, that were really hoping the Cowboys would go and scoop up one of those young running backs. Would have been great to see. But unfortunately for us as fans and dynasty managers and fantasy managers, we're going to get another year probably with Zeke in the backfield with the Cowboys. And obviously Rico Dowdle is going to come into play as well. He's going to play a factor. He's going to be good in the passing game. He'll see his fair share of opportunities. He's only 25 years old, and he has 500 yards from scrimmage last year, and he did total 4 touchdowns. So those aren't insignificant numbers, and there's quite a few touches up for grabs that Pollard left. So, Zeke is going to scoop some of those up, but I also think that Dowdle will also play a big role with the Cowboys this year as well. So that's bearing, obviously, if they don't bring in more competition to increase that level. So we have got some stuff on the go here at Player Profiler, and the Dynasty Deluxe is part of that. And it's an important package that we want to kind of push to our viewers and stuff like that. Many of you probably have it already, but here's the Podfather talking about an important piece of what we do here at Player Profiler.
This episode is brought to you by Player Profiler, the Dynasty Deluxe package. The rankings are the best in the industry. It includes strategy mode where you can say, hey, change the rankings to be win now. Oh, change the rankings to be productive struggle. There's also a draft planner to help strategize where you should take players because the draft planner also includes ADP. There's a trade finder where we look up on My Fantasy League and we see trades that are done, including a particular player. Then there's a trade analyzer where you can plug in draft picks, players, and we assign a lifetime value to draft picks out 5 years. The best thing about our trade analyzer, it can't be gamed with volume. And there's mock draft data to see right now what's the market for player X versus player Y, including in the fall when very few mock drafts are happening. And our Dynasty Guide, the Dynasty Dominator, would cost you $10 on Amazon, but you get it for free with Dynasty Deluxe, and you get our Rookie Guide for free, a $25 value. So you get all of that for $45. So it's a great deal.
Is it ever a great deal? Thanks, Podfather, for that. And yeah, I mean, I dig deep into that Dynasty Deluxe, and it is important stuff. And if you don't have it, you should definitely get it. The Rookie Guide alone is worth the money. Tons of work went into that Rookie Guide from some of the most senior analysts from Player Profiler, and also some guys from the Undroppables. You gotta get this Rookie Guide if you want to get the edge in your dynasty league. It'll make a big difference in what you do as a fantasy football community. So let's get in there. Let's get that Rookie Guide, and let's continue on with the show and get into some more headlines. Ooh, baby, he is back, and Travis Kelce has signed a 2-year extension worth $34.25 million over the next 2 years with the Kansas City Chiefs. Kelce is 34 years old, and he just came 16 yards shy in 2023 of posting his 8th straight 1,000-yard season in a row. Even on a down year, Kelce still managed tight end one numbers, posting 93 receptions, 984 yards, and 5 touchdowns, still finishing as the tight end 3 in just 15 games. Kelce, though, he came through for the Chiefs when they needed him the most down the stretch and in the postseason. And in the postseason alone, he went off for 32 receptions for 355 yards, 3 touchdowns in just 4 postseason games, helped getting our Chiefs, my Chiefs, to the Super Bowl and winning it. The future first ballot Hall of Famer and former 3rd-round pick of the 2013 draft. Kelce is the all-time leader in receiving yards for the Chiefs. He has 75 career touchdowns and will remain an elite top-tier tight end option in redraft leagues in 2024. This puts to rest any sort of chatter about Kelce retiring. This will immediately move Kelce back up dynasty rankings. He'll get right back into the top 10, in my opinion, with this move. He's going to be here for at least 1 more year, probably 2. And that is really big news for the Chiefs after, a big weekend for them. They had a really strong draft, in my opinion, picking up Xavier Worthy, which is going to fit right in with them in their team and their aspects. They finally get that deep threat that they've been waiting for on top of Marquise Brown. So a very, very important offseason for the Chiefs, and they've done some really good things this offseason to solidify and continue to get more steam towards that three-peat. Chris Jones solidified long-term. They just came off of getting Andy Reid and Brett Veach signed long-term, and now we got Travis Kelce back. This team is set for the long term, and it's looking pretty good for them. So another key piece back with the Chiefs, and can't be happier for Travis Kelce. The man earned it. He's taken some team-friendly contracts in the past, and he's back to being the highest paid tight end, which he should be. Way to go, Travis. Congratulations. Yeah, moving on, we have the Raiders that picked up Michael Gallup and agreed to a 1-year deal with him worth about $3 million. And Michael Gallup was a top NFL wide receiver back in 2019, believe it or not. I mean, he had 113 targets that season for Dallas and went over 1,000 yards, 1,107 in that offense. Things didn't work out afterwards. He was, plagued with injuries, and then ultimately that ACL really took the steam out of his vessel there in 2020. And now he has a fresh start with the Raiders, but to me, I think it's going to be tough for him to crack the lineup. They still have Devontae Adams. Jacoby Myers had a really great season. And, second-year wide receiver Trey Tucker also did some things last year that I liked. So pretty tough to get into that wide receiver group. And then when you think about the 2 tight end sets, they're going to be running a lot more this year with Brock Bowers, their first-round pick, and last year's first, in many people's opinion, Michael Mayer was one of the top prospects coming out of the draft. So they arguably have the 2 best prospects heading in the last 2 drafts as tight end targets in their lineup. So I think this is more just a depth piece, but you never know. Gallup, if he can get healthy and back into the swing of things, you never know. But he's an aging veteran here. He's not the youngest, and with some injury history, not much to put into that basket, in my opinion. So another wide receiver that kind of is now, we see this domino effect starting to fall with these wide receivers, these wide receiver 3s that were, making starts and stuff like that. But now these guys are get pushed back just because of the talent that has gone in to this 2024 wide receiver class. We're going to see a lot of these 2024 wide receiver class guys, rookies, coming into these wide receiver roles and starting right away and taking in spots that some of these complementary players like a Zay Jones are going to be taken. So with Jacksonville, their example of this was bringing in Brian Thomas, and there was rumors of Zay Jones getting released earlier this offseason, but that kind of cooled down when Calvin Ridley departed to Tennessee. So those rumors kind of went to hush, and then all of a sudden Zay Jones gets released after the Brian Thomas move. So they must feel comfortable with the core they have. I think Brian Thomas is going to be a very good addition to that room. I think he's going to be a good benefit for Trevor Lawrence. He's going to be a big threat downfield target who can win contested catches. Brian Thomas, I think, fits in good. I know some people were upset about that landing spot with Brian Thomas. It's not the most optimal landing spot, but in my opinion, there could have been a lot worse places Brian Thomas could be. He stuck to a number 1 overall pick quarterback that, is got some time to develop still. And I think this young team has got some stuff to prove after showing out a couple of years ago. So excited to see what happens now in Jacksonville with Brian Thomas, because a lot of people had him as their wide receiver 4 in this class headed into the draft. And now he has slipped in a lot of people's boards based off of where he landed. He was a faller in reality, because, with the landing spot that Xavier Worthy landed, Lad McConkey also had a very juicy landing spot, and these guys just catapulted over Brian Thomas, even though Brian Thomas profiles, and a lot of people had him as a better prospect heading into the draft. But draft capital means a lot, and landing spot means a lot. And now these guys have catapulted ahead of him. But I still have a lot of faith in Brian Thomas as a talent. And I think that landing spot is mediocre. It could have been a lot better, but we're going to have to live through it. But good for Trevor Lawrence getting somebody that he can rely on as a downfield threat. Now, another situation, a running back room that I want to address as well, and that is the Los Angeles Rams, who agreed to a 1-year term with Boston Scott. we're not really going to touch much about Boston Scott in this conversation, but more about the backfield itself. Boston Scott's going to come in as a complementary piece, bearing one of these top guys go down. But the Rams drafted Blake Corum on a day 2 pick, and that really catapults him with the draft capital up in my rankings. I think Blake Corum in the Rams will eventually be a guy that is going to take over that backfield in the future. Kyren Williams will be starting out of the gate. Don't get me wrong. And I think, Sean McVay has been known to, use his running backs and drive them to the ground and use them until they can't be used anymore. And I think they're going to maybe do the same thing, but Blake Corum is going to have that draft capital to come in and earn a spot right away. I think he's going to come in and gain some snaps. I'm not saying he's going in to be the starter in LA, but I think he's going to be somebody that they're going to keep their eye on. He's going to work his way into that lineup and eventually create himself a role with the Rams. So tough news for Kyren Williams owners, in my opinion, and their dynasty situation, because, the draft capital isn't there. He did have a fantastic season in 2023, and, his metrics and his efficiency rankings in 2023 were up there with guys like Christian McCaffrey. So you can't be too hard on Kyren, but Blake Corum there definitely put some red flags to me with Kyren Williams, and with the draft capital that the Rams have invested in Kyren, it's not out of the realm that Blake Corum, bearing an injury, takes on to that starting role and then doesn't lose it and doesn't give it back. So that could be honestly something that happens there. So big backfield to look at, but good news for the Rams. They've added another key weapon in Blake Corum, but also a complementary piece there in Boston Scott. Now, the Bills added Quintez Cephas to their roster. They're in need of some help in the wide receiver room. I'm considering what they had last year going into the year and what they have now. Not quite the same wide receiver room at all. It's actually 100% different for the most part. And, their starters are gone. Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis, and, they are not with the team anymore. So they're going to be looking for somebody to step up, whether it's Khalil Shakir or whether it's the newly drafted Keon Coleman, who has a really good shot at getting into that lineup right away and making an impact. So I'm not saying he's going in there right away and becoming the Bills wide receiver 1, but that is an actual possibility. And that's why Keon Coleman is steaming up draft boards at this stage. He didn't have a very good combine. He didn't show well there. So he, in a lot of our fantasy analysts' opinion, lost some value there. And the landing spot with the Bills is a great spot for him. So to me, anybody that is connected to Josh Allen and is worth a dart throw, especially at the end of the second round. If you can get a Keon Coleman, I like the upside there connected to Josh Allen. And it might be a big risk, but I'm willing to take the risk on a throw that could turn out to be a guy that's putting up numbers similar to Stephon Diggs did in Buffalo. So something to think about. I know there's a lot of back and forth regarding Keon Coleman. So it'll be awesome to see how things shake up in training camp and how he's being utilized in their offensive scheme. So next up, we have John Ross, who is going to join the Eagles rookie camp. See if he still has some speed left on those legs. His rookie combine record of the 40-yard dash was broken by Xavier Worthy. He ran a 4.21, breaking Ross's record at a 4.22. Ross could, eventually, if he shows out and does well, become a downfield threat for the Eagles if he can make the team. They're doing a roll of the dice here, the Eagles, and seeing if they can get something out of something that has been already squeezed pretty dry. So we'll see what happens. I'm not going to put any value in John Ross joining the Eagles until I can see him actually making the roster and seeing if he's going to be able to, play some snaps there. But that's already a crowded wide receiver room in a offense that is definitely passing a lot less than they have in years past. So we shall see what goes on there, especially with the addition of Saquon Barkley and Will Shipley. So I'm excited to see how this new Philadelphia Eagles offense looks with these new weapons and second year removed from Shane Steichen. So another splash in there is a defensive player that got re-signed by the New England Patriots, and that was defensive tackle Christian Barmore. He got a 4-year extension, and it was worth $92 million. So that isn't peanuts. That's a big deal for the former 2021 second-round pick out of Alabama. That contract, has him locked in with the Patriots all the way through the 2028 season. So he was a vital part of the last several seasons for the Patriots. Last season alone, he set a career high in sacks at 8.5, and he was an interior threat for that defensive line. So I think locking him in with this team that has got so much in flux, they're a rebuilding team. We know that it was evident in the draft, and so many people just have their own opinions about how the Patriots draft went. Some people loved the Drake May pick. Some people hate it. Some people thought that they could have moved back and got like a JJ McCarthy. That's all past now. The New England Patriots have a brand new regime. They have a brand new quarterback. They've got a brand new head coach. Things are looking completely different, and I think they're trying to surround this rookie with as much talent as they possibly could. I like the 2 wide receivers they chose, and I think one of them will eventually emerge. Probably not both, but one of them will be a guy that's going to emerge in that offense. And I like both profilers. I really like Javon Baker, and I think that he could make an impact right away. So we'll see what happens there in New England. But good stuff is on the mend for that team that has seen the highest of the highs and some low lows the last couple of years. So good to see a change of the guard, some fresh blood there and some fresh faces and a fresh, new look on football. So New England Patriot fans, I'm sure they're looking forward to seeing what their team is going to line up like in this offseason and coming into 2024. I'm excited to see what that looks like too and how it shakes out. Now, I'm going to quickly touch base because we still got a little time here about some of my favorite positional landing spots for some of these rookies. And, when we talk about quarterbacks, we talk about, how are they going to be successful right away? So I've got one that I think is going to just blow up right away. And I think I got one that is a sneaky one for the future, and I think was a really good pick by the team. And my first one I'm going to talk about is Caleb Williams. And we've heard Caleb Williams throughout this offseason as the bona fide 101, number 1 overall pick in fantasy and in the NFL draft, and it went to fruition. And there has not ever been a rookie that I can remember that has been surrounded by as much talent as Caleb Williams will be. And that's not even considering his profile and how great his profile is coming out of college. So I really think Caleb Williams is going to come on the scene and just destroy 2024. He's already being valued as a top 10 dynasty quarterback. I honestly think he is going to finish 2024 as a top 10 quarterback. You think about his weapons: Rome Odunze, Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, and then they have a pretty stellar 1-2 punch in Roschon Johnson and DeAndre Swift in that backfield. They've surrounded Caleb Williams with weapons. Their offensive line has improved, and I just think that they're positioned so well in 2024, and the hype is real for Caleb Williams. You better get on now before it's too late, because I'm expecting him to have a really, really monstrous 2024, upwards of the likes of the season of CJ Stroud, and could actually exceed that if you think about what CJ Stroud have to work with and what Caleb Williams has to work with. So interesting situation there. And I love that situation that the Bears put Caleb Williams in. And my second favorite positional landing spot for the quarterbacks was none other than Jordan Travis for the New York Jets. I really like this move. Jordan Travis, had he not been injured, I think would have been in the top 5 discussions with at the quarterback position. Coming from Florida State, he had a good pedigree. He didn't get drafted until the 5th round, and he's going to fall behind. I don't know if this is foreshadowing something that already happened, but Aaron Rodgers mentoring a quarterback like a Jordan Love or like now a Jordan Travis. A year with Aaron Rodgers might do wonders for Jordan Travis and beyond. And I think a quarterback like Jordan Travis is going to be a really good addition to that. He's going to be able to sit there, percolate, and do the things right to finish and to become the starter eventually down there. He was one of the most productive career quarterbacks in Florida State history. He had 10,000 yards passing. He had 99 total touchdowns passed. He was on his way to one of the most historical seasons that Florida State ever had in 2023 before, suffering that broken leg. So big things could happen for Jordan Travis, and I think he went under the radar, and I think the Jets did a really savvy move in picking him up, and I think having him behind a guy like Aaron Rodgers is going to make a big difference in the future there, and I think, who is the predecessor to Aaron Rodgers right now? It looks like it's going to be Jordan Travis, and if you look at that lineup in New York, you got a Garrett Wilson, a Malachi Corley, Breece Hall. Now they picked up Braylon Allen. They are making weapons for this young quarterback in the future. And by that point, these guys are going to be rolling on all cylinders. And it's going to be a beautiful thing to see in the future. So pretty good call there by the Jets, I think, picking up Jordan Travis. And now let's move on to the wide receivers. And my favorite, my guy is Ladd McConkey. I think that landing spot with the LA Chargers is one of the most money landing spots that could have happened for Ladd McConkey. He goes into a wide receiver room that is wide open, and he's the type of wide receiver that is going to be very, very friendly for one Justin Herbert. He is going to be able to win in the slot, win in the intermediate routes. He is going to be able to win off of the line. He is so quick off that line. Ladd McConkey is going to garner so many targets next year, in my opinion, and I think it's going to be a great fit there. He has the pathway of being the wide receiver one in a Justin Herbert offense. So great news there, I think, for Ladd McConkey. I love the draft capital that he got there. And as one of the best route runners in this class, I'm putting Ladd McConkey up there. I'm still, having him kind of floating between my wide receiver 4, wide receiver 5, between him and Worthy there. But currently I have Ladd McConkey as my wide receiver 4 in this class after the draft shook out. So love that landing spot for Ladd. And I'm really, really impressed with what the Chargers did in their draft. They did awesome getting Joe Alt at that 5 pick and then getting Ladd McConkey. I think that worked out very, very, very good for them. And not to mention, I think one of the best picks of this whole draft was Kamani Vidal there. I think that is going to be a sleeper pick for y'all. So giving you some of the secrets of the trade. And then my other one wide receiver we touched base a little bit here on is I like Xavier Worthy with the Chiefs. What a beautiful fit, in my opinion. The Chiefs need that guy that can, open the field up and track the ball. He's got ball tracking skills. I'm not saying he's on the same level as Tyreek Hill, but he can track a ball and he's fast as hell. So look for Xavier Worthy to open the field up huge for Patrick Mahomes. But not only that, he is not just a good deep fall threat. He's a good separator and a good route runner, and it's going to be good to see what they can do behind the line with Xavier Worthy as well. And then my third wide receiver that I really like the landing spot there is Roman Wilson. I think getting in to Pittsburgh, being that slot role, I could see him getting targets upwards of the same echelon as Deontay Johnson did with the Steelers. So love that idea there. They have a very similar profile than Lad McConkey, Roman Wilson. They're both burners off the line. They're very much the very same size. I could just see the Steelers really utilizing Roman Wilson in the right way, and I think that was a very, very savvy pick by a team that really knows how to peg wide receivers, especially in the second and third rounds of drafts. So good on the Steelers. I'm loving their offseason. They're making their team so much better this offseason, and they were almost a playoff team last year and the year before as well. So good on the Steelers. Now, running back situations, and we had a couple really good ones there, and Jonathan Brooks tops the charts there. There were a couple teams that I would have loved to have seen Jonathan Brooks on, and Carolina Panthers was one of them. He's going to immediately be able to, once he's fully healthy and recovered from that ACL injury, I think he's going to be able to come in right away and garner a large role. I said this in some of my podcasts in the past. I think Jonathan Brooks is going to be a league winner at the end of 2024. So if you can stash him on your lineups and hold him for most of your redraft season, he's a guy that could potentially get you that coveted championship. So look out for Jonathan Brooks. Great landing spot. The other one I really liked was Trey Benson in Arizona. We all know that the Arizona Cardinals are in need of some backup at the running back position. They're not going to go into 2024 with aging James Conner and DeMarco DeMarco. They're not going to do that. They needed somebody in there, and Trey Benson is one of the most foolproof prospects out of this class as far as floor goes. He's going to be that hard runner up the middle. He's going to be able to create space down the field, but also be a threat at the goal line for the Cardinals, who are going to be in position to score a lot more in 2024 with the addition of Marvin Harrison Jr. and emerging Trey McBride and, Kyler Murray, who isn't so far removed from some top 5 finishes in fantasy football. So look for this Cardinal team to emerge in 2024 as a team that people are going to be invested in heavily in draft season. Now, my final one before I let you all go for the evening is, I talked about him already, that's Kamani Vidal getting the Chargers. Everybody was talking about that landing spot for the Chargers, and I think the writing was on the wall when they went out and picked up Gus Edwards in free agency. We knew that maybe the Chargers were going to use some of their draft capital on other positions of need, like the Joe Alt, like the wide receiver Lad McConkey, and let the running back slip a little. And a lot of analysts out here, including myself, had Kamani Vidal as a top 10 running back before the draft, and now he's in a spot where he could emerge as a guy that could potentially own that backfield in the future. So we shall see, but that's a guy you should all be keeping your eye on, is Kamani Vidal, because he is somebody that could potentially get that backfield. And that's what we're looking for, is guys that can emerge in an offense at the drop of a dime. And the Chargers don't have a whole lot invested in the running back room when you look at it, right? So this could be a very, very good situation. They also have J.K. Dobbins, but he's coming off of 2 major knee injuries, so I'm not going to put a lot of value in there. And Gus Edwards is on the end of his string, so who can be the guy that's taking over that backfield? And that guy could very well be Kamani Vidal. So let's keep that guy circled on our calendar and our draft sheet, because he's somebody that could be rising up draft boards as we speak. So that's it. So where are you guys enjoying this week. It was such a great week of football content. The draft was incredible. The player profiler team did an incredible job at the draft, and the news desk also stepped up their game. So hopefully y'all that follow player profiler got what you needed out of the week. We worked really hard, and I think our fruits of labor really showed in what we did. So it was an awesome weekend, and we're going to continue to pump out top-notch content, and just stay tuned because we've got so much on the go here at Player Profiler, so much down the pipeline that is just going to explode as the offseason continues and as the preseason starts. Things are going to heat up on our network, so you better continue to follow us on socials. So you can find me on X at FFCanuck99. I am a senior analyst for the news desk for Player Profiler. So we are also looking for more analysts to join our team on Player Profiler news desk. So if you're interested in joining, hit us up on our Twitter page. We have an application form there. Be sure to fill it out, and one of us senior members of the news desk will be sure to get back to you. We're looking for people to fill the room to help create news for the news desk. Now, hopefully we had a lot happen this week, and maybe we don't have just as much going on this next week, so we can all catch our breath a little bit and put all the pieces together and then let it rip because the off season is still going. Remember to like and to subscribe to our channels on YouTube, our Player Profiler NFL channel, News Today on YouTube, but also our Twitter feed as well for all breaking news all the time. We are going to be bringing it daily, so check that out on the website as well. That's everything for today for Player Profiler today for Wednesday, May the 1st. I'm Grindberg. Thanks for tuning in. We hope you have a great night, and we'll see you tomorrow on the show.
Hey, I want to take a moment to thank you for tuning in. It's important to me that all of our media be free. This is only possible because of you allowing a true independent sports media enterprise to thrive unlike any other in the business. So please subscribe to the All In Package to continue to make all this possible, to ensure that all of our stats, information, data, content is available to you, especially you, the people that get the site and get the show.